Don't be so nitpicky with measuring.
Margaret, my mother-in-law, snatched the measuring cup from behind me.
But
Listen, how long are you planning on measuring like this? A housewife should be able to season by instinct, and always relying on a book. Don't you plan to memorize the recipes even a little?
My husband Ken was always a kind man. He's calm and always stood up for me, but when he's not around, Margaret would always bully me.
Well, maybe she has her reasons.
As he removed his tie, he seemed to brush off my complaints.
I can't stand how she always badmouths me behind your back. Maybe she feels guilty and that's why she won't say it in front of you?
Ken just said now out trying to calm me as he headed to the living room.
I just wish you'd do something about it.
I whispered. This way of life began after my father-in-law passed away. Until then, I was enjoying the life of a carefree housewife. While Ken was at work, I would have tea with friends or go to the movies with the money left over after managing the household budget. I was never good at household chores, but having no children, I had plenty of time for myself. So, it didn't matter how long everything took. Everything changed since I started living with Margaret. Woken up early in the morning, I was forced into a routine of efficient movements from preparing meals to doing laundry, as per Margaret's ideals. I've always been the calm and easygoing type by nature. The exact opposite of someone like Margaret. No matter how much I complain, Ken won't listen. It's not like I'm a soldier. Why does everything have to be so regimented? Once the household chores are done, next comes sewing time. Nowadays, you can buy dusters at any dollar store, but Margaret insists on making them from old clothes.
That's horrible.
Lisa, my college classmate, looked frustrated just hearing the story. Lisa works alongside her husband, but she still treats me no differently even though I am a stay-at-home wife.
Your husband is awful too. Why doesn't he support you when you're struggling? I wonder if he's a mama's boy.
She fumed with me.
I sometimes think it might be easier to just get a divorce. But you know, I got married right after college, right? Because I don't have any work experience, finding a job is not easy.
I've just now realized the pitfalls of being a stay-at-home wife. I was over the moon back then, but facing this problem now, I feel hopeless without having any skills of my own.
So what's your plan with Mill?
It would be best if she would go to a facility, but from the looks of it, she doesn't seem likely to become senile even she ages. And Ken is against Margaret living alone.
It's a deadlock, huh? Well, you should come over to my place sometimes. My husband has been abroad a lot lately. I'm often alone, so it gets lonely. It would be a great help if you could come and stay.
I'm so envious of Lisa. Not just her husband's job, but she herself is independent too. She was my role model.
It's important to have some distance from each other once in a while.
Leaving those words, she went back to her company just before the break was over.
You were gone a long time when you said you were going shopping. Do you understand? We don't have a minute to waste. You know, since your husband is working hard outside, we have to diligently take care of the house.
I really don't like being forced like this.
The words slipped out, and Margaret looked like a deer caught in headlights.
I'm sorry.
I had been talking to Lisa until a moment ago, and was still feeling bold. I apologized and passed by Margaret to reach for the laundry that I had left hanging on the balcony. When I touched the last piece of laundry, the phone rang. Peering through the window, Margaret seemed very flustered.
Scarlett, it's Ken.
I hurried back inside. Margaret seemed disturbed. She's shedding tears. Ken had a heart attack, so-called ventricular fibrillation. I had never heard that such a disease existed, and never thought that my husband would pass away at the young age of 38.
I've been struggling whether to tell you or not. I'm sorry, but Ken didn't have any underlying conditions. He was always healthy, so I thought it would be fine.
In front of her now cold Ken, Margaret spoke through her tears.
I know it's unforgivable, but he finally got engaged. I didn't want that to go to waste. Even if there were genetic risks, we didn't know if they would manifest.
The pleading words of crying Margaret didn't stick with me. They just flowed from one ear to the other. However, if I had known about these risks before we got married, no, even when we were just dating, maybe I could have been prepared for this sudden separation. Our future, suddenly taken away. Now, I just held Ken's hand, unable to say anything. I'm not crying. The separation happened too fast, and I didn't know how Margaret and I are supposed to live from now on. Ever since Ken passed away, Margaret has started going out more often. It's as if her usual nagging was all a lie, having ceased altogether. She must have been scared of being kicked out of this house that Ken left us, becoming more docile. I didn't give it much thought, assuming that was the reason. As for me, now without my husband, living off the savings we had left was not possible, and I started looking for a job. But not being able to work in an office job, finding a right job was difficult. Working part-time at a pub may pay well by the hour, but it seemed unrealistic considering my age. I wondered if it would be better to go to the Employment Service Center and take some vocational training. While contemplating this, I came across a job opening at a meal center. This could be it. I quickly called them. Fortunately, I was hired immediately and would start working from next week.
Wait, at that school.
Margaret looked away from me, radiating an uneasy aura.
Is there any problem with that?
These days, Margaret, who stopped nagging, and I were on more equal footing. If anything, I had the upper hand.
No, nothing's wrong.
Suspicious, but what would pressing her further achieve? I finished my meal and started cleaning up promptly. I discovered the truth behind Margaret's awkward behavior several months later. After cleaning up post-lunch, I went to the playground and saw Margaret there.
Margaret.
She was holding a large bag, and seeing me, she said,
So we finally meet.
in a resigned manner.
I work with the children. I do various things for them. Well, I get assigned to different schools, and I go through a senior staffing agency.
This was an unexpected side of her. The person who nagged so much, who tormented me, is surprisingly working with children.
I love children, and since both my husband and Ken are gone, I thought I might as well do what I like.
Saying see you in a casual manner, Margaret started walking towards the school. Even while I was back home preparing dinner, Margaret's words kept lingering in my mind. Do what I love. Come to think of it, I had never seen Margaret just carefreely going out for fun. I chopped vegetables and added seasoning to the pot as my mind wandered. Since when? When did I start to understand measurements by eye without meticulously measuring? I realized that there were things I couldn't do when I was with Margaret that I now could. Just the other day, I even sewed a loose apron and made napkins for the children who forgot to bring them for lunch. Strange. I used to think it was easier to buy things whenever possible. Am I experiencing the joy of creating? I wonder if Margaret is having fun with the children right now. I somehow felt envious. Through my job at the meal center, there was a part of me that looked forward to interacting with the children every day.
Scarlett, what's for dinner today?
You never know what life will bring. Here I am, 10 years later, making meals for children at the community kitchen. In the living room, Margaret is reading picture books, singing finger play songs, and we have staff helping with homework.
Today, we have fried chicken. And then, tomato soup.
The child jumped for joy.
I love tomato soup.
It was Margaret who brought up this opportunity. Her friends at the senior center were planning this community kitchen, and she invited me to join in and work there. I immediately agreed to the unexpected offer from Margaret.
You helped me so much. Your efficiency is remarkable. No wonder you worked at the meal center.
The head chef praised.
It's all thanks to Margaret's rigorous training.
We could joke about this because we had truly become close over the many years.
Trained by Margaret, huh? But without talent, even with teaching, one can't master it. Scarlett has a knack for cooking.
I blushed and looked down as they praised me too much. Every day, children dealing with various circumstances come here. But once they arrive, everyone becomes smiling and enjoys their time. Being able to provide such a place is thanks to the cooperation of the local community.
Hey. Even though Scarlett isn't related by blood to Margaret, why are you so close, like a happy parent and child?
I had that child sit on my lap.
Well, it's important for each of us to have feelings of cherishing each other.
I really like my mom though.
Yes. It took us a decade to get close. In hard times, we always relied on our friends.
I hugged the child from behind.
If you come here, we will always listen to your stories.
Sometimes, tears are shed, seeing such small children struggling. even being forced into a life where they are unsure if they can even get a meal the next day. I looked at the photos of my husband and father-in-law lined on the table.
I think you'd see if you were watching, but we've finally become friends. Sure, there were misunderstandings like I was being bullied, but now I understand why Margaret acted the way she did back then. Can you believe we are working at the same place now? If you guys knew, you guys would be so surprised.
I laughed a little. Even though the relationship was awkward when both were alive, to think that the distance between Margaret and me would shorten the moment we were left alone. Is there such a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship anywhere?
You seem to be enjoying something.
Margaret sat next to me.
I was reminiscing about the days when I was bullied by you.
Bullied by me? Absolutely not.
I already realized that it wasn't bullying, but I played dumb. I wanted to hear the truth from her.
Maybe it's because I couldn't shake off the fear that Ken might pass away early. Scarlett, you got married without getting a job, right? If my son were to die, then you would be left stranded. At least, I thought I should instill in you what I could teach. Saying it like that, we both might have been spared from long suffering, but I couldn't ever confess about the possibility of Ken's illness. I'm sorry for tormenting you all this while.
We looked at the photos lined up on the table.
Both of you, don't worry. We are getting along well.
Then Margaret said,
I'm going to take a bath.
and left. Looking at the clock, it was pointing to 9 p.m. Though no, there was a show I wanted to watch today. I quickly grabbed some crackers from the shelf, poured some warm tea, and sat in front of the TV. Back in the day, if I tried to watch TV like this, I would have been scolded by Margaret, a thought that made me laugh again. She was really a nagging person, but she is very kind now.
I'm out of the bath.
After a while, Margaret came out with a face mask on.
Oh, Margaret, you are doing a rare face mask.
There is a girls' meet tomorrow, so I have to gear up.
Are we, by any chance, feeling more alive now? We, who are neither wives nor mothers to someone, are we getting along so well now because we, who were supposed to be in a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship, are free from what was binding us? If the two in heaven knew about this, they would be mad. Munching on my favorite crackers and sipping tea. A happy moment. I sighed comfortably. In the background, Mother was massaging her face with the mask on.
We need to buy new cosmetics soon.
Since Margaret said so, we would probably go to the department store together this weekend. Maybe I will try some new eyeshadow there.